Enjoy this free preview from MyOutdoorTV. With the largest library of outdoor shows, we're the home of the adventurous, the champions, the legends. MyOutdoorTV. Try us free.
This week on RNT-V, we head up north to meet the Molts.
There's a couple of key identifying features to tell what a molt is or a giant Canada goose.
Join us as we hear from Sean and waterfowl ecologist Ryan Askren on behavioral traits and how to be more successful on these migrants.
Typical first day, but we came up here and we met some molts today, baby.
Yes, we did. We done it up fast. That's right. That's what I'm talking about.
Do you know, since the very existence of man, the pursuit of wild game has been a part of us.
Migrating waterfowl are always a stirring sight.
Its history so rich throughout a land littered with remnants of its evolution. From the tools and tactics to the legacy passed from generation to generation. Our passion runs as deep as our roots, and it's why we conserve and consume, to pass along to those to come, like those who came before us. RNT calls. It's what we do. It's who we are.
You guys got any cell phone reception? I got nothing. Talk to Sean at all? No. All right, well, let's try the payphone, I guess.
So every year, one of the first trips that we try to make is one going north, and we always say we're going to meet the molts or we're going to goose camp.
I just put off and everything.
When I say meet the molts, for those that have been in the goose hunting way of life for a long, long time, they know that back when I was a kid, there really wasn't resident geese. Like, you really had to wait for the migrating geese that were, you know, subarctic and up in Hudson Bay area coming down to be able to hunt them. They're way back in. You see the ones get up way back in?
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a lot of birds.
Does your
kind of
Onyx
in a
show
small
a pond
space.
back there?
Somewhere in my early youth, the resident or the giant Canada goose, the Brana canadensis maximus, they found a pocket of them. They started moving them around the country and establishing resident populations, and they just exploded.
They've been an incredible success story, so we reintroduced Canada geese from a few Western populations. Kind of starting back in the, I guess, 80s and especially into the 90s, we really saw this temperate breeding population really come back. And these are the ones that we call resident Canada geese. But yeah, with that, we've enacted some early goose hunting seasons that have really opened up the door, a lot more opportunities early before kind of regular duck and goose seasons, really with the goal of reducing those local kind of temperate breeding resident populations.
Another offshoot of these resident geese is it created a phenomenon called molt migration. You hear people say, hunting the molts are migrating. And that's something that's new in the last probably 40 years, and every year it gets bigger and bigger as resident goose populations expand throughout the country. I know we can shoot them up there, but it won't be this.
You'll be watching this.
That sun is just coming over the trees and we'd be done if we're hunting this. Oh man, I don't know. It's gonna be a tough choice. Doing a little pre-scouting here, meet the molts. We came up and met them. They're coming down. They've spent the summer hanging out in the tundra. What these are sub-adults, non-breeding Canada geese, 1 to 3 years of age, and unsuccessful breeders. And what they do is they take off for the summer and go as far north as they can get before they lose their flight feathers. They hang out there until they can fly again. And then they try to head back down, back into the States and hit the golf courses and the lawns and all that stuff. But so what we're trying to do is we're going to them and trying to catch them before they get home. And it's some of the funnest hunting you could have. But these are all adults. That's the other thing you got to realize, that probably 90% of these birds that we'll be shooting and chasing are all adults. So they don't take a lot of pressure. But we found a megawatt of birds out here in this pea field.
RNT-V is brought to you by Sitka Gear, tangle-free decoys and accessories, Winchester Repeating Arms, Express Boats, Purina Pro Plan, and Bass Pro Shops. This segment of RNT-V is brought to you by Winchester Ammunition.
Gauge Super X4. See how good I am. Look at that! Come on! Look at that! Come on! Anything else you want to know?
Nope, that goose is
What you think? Got anything to
gonna
say?
be good. Gonna be good. First one of the year.
Just a guess, how many more of them new ones have we got in there?
3 more dozen.
Golly, I mean, I like this spread size already, but we're dealing with 8 million geese. With this field's like a mile and a half long. The good news is they kind of got to go by. This is like the first spot of the field. Hunting the molt has just made Canada goose hunting become so popular. And what a molt is every year these geese go through a period where they lose their flight feathers. Go, go, go! These resident birds, they don't breed until they're anywhere from 2 to 4 years of age, depending on if it's a male or a female. So they spend a lot of time single and ready to mingle. They get out and they get kicked out from their family group the following year after they're born, and they get together and they move around and they end up flying a migration route that takes them north. Go! A lot of times it takes them as far north as their wings will allow them before their flight feathers fall out. And these things end up in the subarctic areas, the Baffin Islands, all over Hudson Bay. For those of us hunting the Midwest, those are our birds there. Grease them! How about just a little bit of wind? So they go up there, they hang out all summer long, run around getting chased by polar bears, or eating bugs and grasshoppers. The sun's shining pretty much 23 hours a day where they're at, so there's plenty of food, plenty of nutrition for them. And then they are typically one of the first geese to come back. Usually, and it just depends on how soon they get their flight feathers back, weather patterns. So you get a north wind, they'll take off and head for home. Go time! Hang it! Yep, I shot 3 right here, just bam, bam, bam. Go! Carl.
First day in Manitoba. Hey, geese loves peas.
Hey, we had broke batteries off on our spinners, ducks on our typical first day. But we came up here and we met some molts today, baby.
Yes, sir, did. We done it up fast. That's right. That's what I'm saying.
There's a couple of key identifying features to tell what a molt is or a giant Canada goose. One of them is just their sheer size, and if you've got a set of calipers, you can measure their bill length and width, and depending on if it's male or female, if you can identify that, it falls within the range, that tells you. But to tell if it's an adult or a juvenile, there's a couple of key ways you can do it. You can look at their tail feathers, and if they actually come to a point, that means that it's an adult bird. If there's a little V-notch in there, especially earlier in the season, they haven't fully developed, that's an also key indicator. You can look at the end of their primaries as well. If the end of the primaries are rounded off, that's an indicator that it's an adult bird. If these come to a point, a sharp point, that's a young of the year, first hatch year bird. So that's a good way to tell. And that's how we know when we're up here hunting these molts that we're shooting 75 to 80% of them are all adult birds. And that's when we know we're really into the heart of the molts.
This segment of RNT-V is brought to you by Gunner Kennels. This segment of RNT-V is brought to you by Onyx.
Yeah, they're really starting to hit out there right now. We're checking on another field. These are primarily molts here, and you know, one of the ways that we know that these are molt migrants is we shoot a lot of bands, and they get banded as juveniles in the States. And it's a smorgasbord of birds that we shoot. Like, I think we've shot 7 bands so far. Like 3 of them have been from Illinois. We got one from Wisconsin, a couple from Iowa, and South Dakota. So it's just all spread out. And these are all birds just trying to make it back home where they were born and raised. But it's pretty cool. And you know, most of the birds, the vast majority of the bands that we shoot are 1 to 2 years of age. But one of the birds that we shot was banded as an adult in 2011. So that bird's pretty old. So what that was an unsuccessful nester. Did a molt migration, went as far as his wings would take him, went up north, spent the summer, and was just trying to make its way home, and we intercepted it. So that's the fun part about meeting the molts, is you go to them and they're trying to get past you, and it's just fun. A good way to start the year. I said that the molts are typically the 1 to 3 year old. They're not sexually mature enough to nest and breed, but also there's a segment of the population that are unsuccessful nesters. Say a predator gets it, so an older pair of geese will take off and go on that route as well. What we find when we go meet the molts, we're catching probably the middle of them when we get up here in September. So typically you've got the young ones that'll stay a lot longer. The 1 to 3 year old birds will stay in the area a lot longer. And this is all, band studies kind of prove this. We're here at Jack Miner Bird Sanctuary. We got invited to band here. It's a pretty special thing because this is where bird banding started, Jack Miner. He started putting these on there to try to figure out where these birds migrate to. He's the founding father of the biology, the sound biology behind all the management that takes place on these geese. So they're going to put on a Jack Miner band. It's going to have a Bible verse on it, and we got a fed band on the other side. So we're catching these birds. They're in their flightless stage right now. Some of these birds can fly, some can't. This bird here can't actually fly right now. But I'm going to let this guy go and get back to his group.
At least with our geese transmitters we put out in northern Illinois, pretty tight window at the start of June that they're all leaving. After they fail, and these non-breeders that just never nested, they all kind of group up in these areas, and you can see them kind of foraging pretty heavy, probably to get the energy they need to make that migration, and then they all leave around that first week of June. On the way north, they would sometimes sample on the way up there, but then a big jump over the boreal forest all the way up to Hudson Bay, and there's really good forage up there. There's pretty wide open spaces, so predation risk, their ability to kind of detect and see predators is probably a lot lower. So it really makes sense to go to safe places with lots of food. And then on the way back, most of the time we saw really big movements and really kind of two-part movements. So a lot of times we'd see geese leave, usually morning, end up in the boreal kind of Canadian Shield up in Ontario, sometimes Manitoba, and they'd spend the night on one of those boreal shield lakes, and then the next day, a lot of times fly all the way back to the city, back to safety. Going back to molt migrants, it was incredible. A Canada goose's ability to, like I said, hop from where there's some subsistence harvest up along Hudson Bay to a lake in the middle of nowhere away from any civilization, and then completely overflying Wisconsin, avoiding any sort of hunting pressure there during hunting season, and going straight back to the urban pond they were at in Chicago is just incredible. And that to me points to there's got to be a huge effect of disturbance on that migration behavior.
got to hit the pavement, got to figure out where they're going. These molts, they move around quite a bit. You get on them in one spot, they don't take a lot of pressure, and they boogie out and start heading south. A lot of them do. Ryan Asker, and he's got a lot of data on that, radio transmitter birds. We had one in particular a few years ago. She was right in that area that we were hunting, bouncing back and forth to a couple different fields in a roost. And that morning we were hunting one of those fields, and by noon she was already down to the state line, and then that next morning all the way down to the marsh she was banded in Chicago. So you got to keep moving. Got to keep moving with these birds. They kind of all over spread out. So if we shoot into one bunch, we'll move 10 or 15 miles away and get on another bunch and kind of try to let them rest. But a lot of times they just push right out. We got us some wind today. All them birds will be coming off this roost right over here. Well, I shouldn't say all of them, probably 75% of them. But we got a good northwest wind today, and we're gonna set them nice and tight, pull these birds right up in the hole, right over here.
Second day, we finna do a pound. We fix and take some stuff to pound town.
Go, 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 go. Give him to Kobe. Hey, single coming right at us. You did. Go. 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 Get him. Sit. Get up. Get up. Carl. Hey, is it banded?
Yeah, it is. It's banded.
Hey, he is banded.
Yeah, it's banded for sure.
This segment of RNT-V is brought to you by Mow Marsh. This segment is brought to you by Rich and Tone.
Rhino, I'm gonna put the blind here. It's supposed to be a northwest wind. It's kind of a little bit west. We'll probably angle the blind this way. So I want a long line of decoys right in front of the blind, like 10 yards in front of the blind. Long line, and then out in front of it, another 10 yards from that, we're gonna put a round blob. Get ready. Go. Hunting the molt has just made Canada goose hunting become so popular. It used to be back in the day, there was, growing up in the Midwest, there was probably 3 or 4 places you could go. Horicon Marsh, in central Wisconsin. That would be a big staging area, primarily one of their first stops as they come off of Hudson Bay. And then southern Illinois, Crab Orchard, Horseshoe Lake down in there. There was a small little refuge by my house that would hold probably 25 to 40,000 birds at peak migration. Wheeler National Wildlife Refuge in northern Alabama used to get a pile of birds. And those areas have kind of fallen off. These Arctic, subarctic nesting birds aren't as proliferate as they used to be. There's just not a bunch of them anymore. But what's taken over are these giant Canada geese. And in some states like Michigan, where I'm from, we may have a fall flight that's well over 1 million resident Canada geese. And that's a lot of birds to chase. It creates a lot of opportunity for hunters in the field throughout the entire year.
Coming around on the right, coming around on the right.
Go, 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 go. Carl. Raining. So where I'm from in Michigan, we have a 107-day goose season. We can pretty much hunt all the way from September 1st to the middle of February. So it's never been a better time to be a goose hunter now that we have these molts to chase after. Go!
That's a wrap.
We done?
That's it.
You want a fork? We give you a fork.
Yeah. Let's call that good. We need. I think we need one more.
Fork
That's
good.
fine.
You see it?
That's fine.
Here.
No left-handed Winchesters come out this year. Nice guns. If you're left-handed, that's hey, awesome guns. There she is.
All right, I'm gonna run this blind over here and get this bird, and then we'll pick up.
Closed captioning brought to you by Rob Roberts Custom Gunworks.